That was one ridiculous name. I gotta stop drinking. Okay. How the fuck did I get here?
Deathloop was not at all a game I thought I would play. My first impressions of the game were that it was going to be another story-driven first-person action-adventure shooter which rarely catch my attention. Also, I'm not a really big fan of Arcane Studios and their works like Dishonored or their entries into the Wolfenstein series. So I flat out thought I would not enjoy Deathloop, and I almost skipped out on the game. But on the last second whim, I had a change of heart and decided to take a chance on the game. And to my surprise, I found an amazing roguelike action adventure with an amazing dynamic story, a unique 1960s inspired setting, lovable characters, and a fun evolving gameplay system that just makes you want to keep on playing. However, the game is not without its faults, and as I have mentioned in a previous review, the roguelike genre is not my jam. Nonetheless, Deathloop is a hidden gem that had the potential to fly under my radar, but I'm glad my chance paid off and I got to play a potential Game of the Year candidate.
Ugh, you always fall for the same old shit. Just once, please. Can you try your hardest to make this interesting?
Whoa. What the fuck is this?
Carnices! Ooh, you're gonna give me that attitude? You know, I usually make it easy for you, you ungrateful prick. But this time I'll let you see yourself out.
Yup, we dated. Whoa, why are you doing this? What did I do to you?
Let us dig right into the meat of it and talk about the game's amazing story and the amazing characters within it. The game starts with our protagonist Colt as he gets stabbed to death by a mysterious woman only to reawaken on a beach with little to no memory of what transpired. From there, you will slowly realize that you're within a time loop and your objective is to kill all 8 visionaries in a single day, or a single loop to break the loop. Easier said than done since all 8 spend their time all in different areas at different times of the day. And let us not forget to mention Juliana, who stands in between you and trying to kill all 8 visionaries in the game. She is also the one who killed Colt at the beginning of the game, and to me, Colt, Juliana, and the relationship that blooms between them is the best part about Deathloop. The game takes place all within the perspective of Colt, but while in that perspective, you are constantly having a relationship and story-driven conversations with Juliana as you try to figure out how the loop was created and find clues how to end it. Both Jason Kelly, the voice actor for Colt, and Oizma Akaga, the voice actress for Juliana, did an amazing job at making me believe that Colt and Juliana had a genuine relationship before becoming adversaries, and build how that relationship has soured, as they are both at each other's throats throughout the entire game. It is not all doom and gloom between the two. There's some sexual tension and some spots of humor as both bicker at one another throughout the entire game. These two are not the only standout characters, because some of the visionaries have unique quirks and personalities that stick with you throughout the game as well, and it is very fun to see how Colt interacts with them. Since I do not want to talk about all of them, I'll stick with my 2 personal favorites, Fia Zobrowska and Charlie Montague. Fia is a paranoid artist who's very trigger happy, and this is due to her paranoia. In fact, her paranoia is borderline crazy, but without spoiling too much, once you get on her base of operations, just get seen by one of the guards and you'll see what I mean. Meanwhile, Charlie has a lot less to do with his character and more so to do with the setting of his base of operations, which happens to be a sci-fi themed escape room he created for himself. I cannot really go into detail about Charlie without spoiling too much, but once you meet him, and I mean all of him, he will end up being one of your favorite visionaries too. Speaking of the setting though, the island Black Reef is all over the place, but in a good way. There are 4 locations: Carl's Bay, which is like a port or harbor, Frischstad Rock, a mountainous tundra with a base of operations within a mountain, Updam, the capital or the main city of the game, and the Complex, which is just a complex. The game also has this 1960s inspired-esque setting, mixed in with futuristic tech that somehow does not feel out of place. In one room, you will see an old school bachelor pad with sunken couches and indoor fire pits, and in the next, a bar filled to the brim with futuristic turrets. Now, I do not have too many gripes about the story or setting, but I did feel like the spotlight was a little too focused on Colt and Juliana's relationship, and a lot less on the visionaries. It especially sucks when you discover that Colt has had past relationships with each one, and some interactions just feel forced. On top of this, I wish there was more to explore in Black Reef, because since the game is a roguelike, you will eventually explore every nook and cranny, with the rinse and repeat gameplay roguelike games are known for.
Just in time for the show.
Touch ability.
Loop is everything. Loop is your life.
As I've mentioned, the game is a roguelike action-adventure first-person shooter, so there's quite a bit to digest. First, let us look at the roguelike aspect of the game, since it is what the story hinges on. Like in my previous review for Hades, or a game I've yet to play, Returnal, once you die you must start all over from the beginning. In Deathloop's case, Colt reawakens on the beach with absolutely nothing, at least in the beginning. Once again, I'm going to try avoid spoilers, but early on you're given a perk that gives you 2 extra lives within each time you repeat the loop, so mistakes will not cost you too much. There were times that the extra lives did come in handy for me, especially in the beginning of the game when you feel powerless, but as you progress further and find better weapons and the abilities, you will soon forget that you even had multiple lives. Towards the end of my playthrough, I did not die once, unless it was Juliana who's hunting for you. But do not worry, she only hunts you if you're targeting a visionary. What impressed me the most about the loop was finding clues and putting together the ultimate puzzle of the game, and finding a way to kill all the visionaries in one day or within one loop. As you progress, you'll find terminals where you can read messages from the visionaries to one another, recordings of the visionaries' conversations, and notes left behind that all give you a hint on when and where they will be or where the next clues will be. It is such a simple concept, and it is done expertly. One of my concerns in the beginning was how to keep up with all the information given, but trust me, once all the pieces of the puzzle come together, it will all make sense. The loop aspect of the game is detrimental to the story, but the real question is how fun the gameplay and gameplay loop is, pun intended. Very few games let you decide how you want to handle situations, but Deathloop does an amazing job at trying to let you play how you want to play. Right away I wanted to be a ghost hidden in the shadows, as I took my enemies from behind silently. Unfortunately, it was very difficult in the beginning of the game, so instead I went for a much more run-and-gun approach. Speaking of guns, the guns in this game are plentiful. Some better quality than others, and some with certain perks, but my favorites being the pistols and submachine guns with silencers for obvious reasons, and the machine gun that did more damage to enemies after every kill. And once you discover the abilities the visionaries have, you will steamroll through the game. My favorite power being Ether, which gave Colt the power of invisibility. So eventually I did get my gameplay style that I wanted. I was a ghost with my silenced SMG and my long-range sniper rifle, and I loved every second of it. The gameplay is so much fun, and once you figure everything out, you will feel unstoppable towards the end of the game. Deathloop also supports haptic feedback on the PlayStation 5 controller, and it was a treat when shooting all the different guns and using all the different abilities within the game. What I did not like towards the end of the game was the gameplay loop or the replayability of the game. There were certain points where I was just rushing through the loop just to complete a certain objective, at which point it started to feel like a chore. It is a small gripe though, but once you figure out what makes Black Reef tick, all the loops just start to blend in. Nonetheless, I had a blast with Deathloop beginning to end.
Again. Invited.
Why wasn't I invited?
Graphically, the game did not blow me away, which is kind of disappointing since the game was only meant for the PlayStation 5 and PC. However, this does not mean I did not like what I saw. The game went for this cel-shaded art style, something like you would find in Borderlands. So not as realistic as many would want, but as a massive Borderlands fan, I did enjoy what I was seeing in Deathloop. Bright and vivid colors also pop on screen, especially the red, yellows, and oranges. I believe they did this to help enhance the 1960s aesthetic they were going for. Speaking of the 1960s aesthetic, the sound was also inspired for that as well. The game's music had this sort of James Bond sounding feel to it, and for those who do not know, James Bond originally came out in the 1960s. The music made me feel like a spy on a mission, and it went well with the stealthy gameplay I went for. The game also enhances this when you get caught because it could be dead silent sometimes, but once you're caught, the music cranks it up to 11 and you're now in the thick of the action. And finally, another small thing I really enjoyed was how the radio conversations took place. There are recordings all over the island you can listen to on your radio, and whenever Juliana spoke to you, it was on the radio. However, rather than being through your TV speakers, they took place on the speaker of your PlayStation 5 controller. I do not know why, but I really enjoyed this. It made me feel like I was using my controller as a radio. Deathloop really surprised me. I remember the last PlayStation State of Play that took place in July that had a massive Deathloop demo, and I was just not convinced at all. The game did not vibe with me whatsoever, and once I discovered it was a roguelike, I really didn't want anything to do with it. Days before its release, I was looking for something to play, and I took a chance, decided to pre-order the game and give it a shot, and it did not disappoint. Deathloop's story mesmerized me into an amazing, interactive find the clues, put the pieces of the puzzle together, and kill all 8 visionaries in one day to end the loop kind of game. The gunplay was very fun and dynamic in letting you choose your playstyle, which gave off a great sense of agency for the game. And the setting, graphics, and sound made me feel like I was in a spy movie from the 1960s, which came off to me as beautiful and unique. I am scoring Deathloop a 9 out of 10. The game is not perfect, but is certainly a hidden gem, and has the potential to take 2021's Game of the Year. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. I don't know if you noticed, but I was playing with my microphone quite a bit in this one, so try and bear with me as I try to find my recording voice. But once again, thank you again, and from the ghost with the most, Omega out.